Good evening and welcome to our community Q&A, question and answer session about the bond proposal that we're going to be voting on next Tuesday, the 23rd, regarding renovations for the elementary school, the middle school, and a new gymnasium/activity center. You have had the opportunity to submit some questions via email. We have collected those, and I've been assured that every one of them that you asked have been here and will be represented tonight, so we're thankful for that. We have a panel here, and I'm going to turn it over to them, let them introduce themselves, and then we will get into asking those questions. You guys are up.
So thank you, Jared. Appreciate that. Appreciate you helping us out tonight. So again, I want to thank everybody for submitting all of your questions. And I just, when you submitted those, I went right in. I cut those out of those emails, posted them right in here. So we're going to answer everything that the questions that have been submitted. I have with me tonight, I have Matt Reichert, who's with Stephen H. McDonald, and I have Van Storm, who's with Jody Hall, and I have Jordan Hall, who is with Clarence Williams Architectural. So first thing I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to kind of let these guys start off and introduce themselves and tell what their function is, their company's function is with this project. So Matt, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you, sir. Honored to be here this evening, folks, in the home of the Mustangs. My name is Matt Reichert. I'm the Vice President with Stephen H. McDonald Associates. We are serving in the role of financial advisor to the district on the issuances. We help bring the team together that will be involved in financing. We help figure out numbers. We help with notices, agendas, resolutions, everything to assist the board in keeping the T's crossed and I's dotted on any security that you would be looking to do to get these great projects taken care of. Back to you, Kyle.
So, I might say just, we've had a long-standing relationship with Stephen H. McDonald Associates and Matt, as being our financial advisors in anything dealing with bonds. We've worked with them for the past 8-9 years now on this existing bonds that are tied to this high school building. And, the main thing is that their company has always kept us out of trouble. We have not had any issues with any of our bonding, and so that's a big deal. There's a lot of legal things that go along with that, and Stephen H. McDonald is such they've kept us right on track with that and everything moving forward. So appreciate that. So Van Storm with Joe Hall.
Yeah, my name is Van Storm with Jody Hall Construction. We're out of Elk City, Oklahoma, and we are serving as construction manager at risk for the upcoming bond issue. We built the high school that we're in now several years back, had a successful project there, and our role primarily currently is providing some pre-construction services for the bond issue, so all the budget and scheduling and that sort of thing at this point. Once the bond issue passes, then we solicit public bids following Title 61 and publicly bid every aspect of the job to subcontractors. And at that point, our job becomes construction manager to deliver the project, schedule it, and see it through till the end, through the warranty period. So, our relationship here goes back several years, and we have had a great following of subcontractors and on-site superintendents that help us deliver that. So we're happy to have the opportunity to be back in Fort Cobb, Broxton.
Thank you, Van. And again, we have a relationship with Joe Hall. If you travel anywhere across Southwest Oklahoma, and there's especially a school or a city project, you're probably going to see a Joe Hall construction sign out in front of that project. They focus on Southwest Oklahoma, and like I said, we've done a project with Joe Hall. Van worked through this high school building project with us, and it was all good. Everything went smoothly. It was a good project. We got a good building. So I also have Jordan Hall with us tonight, who is the architect, works for Clarence Williams. Now, we've done the architectural selection a little bit different. We had 3 different architectural firms that basically presented proposals to us on this project, and this was the firm that the board and I kind of settled on that brought us what we felt like fit our needs. So, Jordan, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about what your role is here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kyle. So as the architect on this project with CWA Group, our role is one, yes, to design the building, but also to ensure code compliance through to the design, coordinating the engineers and systems on the project, structural, civil, geotech, et cetera, through the design until we get to bidding. Through bidding, it is to help clarify in conjunction with Van and our construction management team. The bidders' questions, we'll answer those, and then during construction, we act as the owner's representative, verifying that all the state requirements are being met for the competitive bidding act, again, in conjunction with the construction manager. So.
All right, so thank you. So we're just going to jump right into these questions. We have 3 pages of questions here to go through tonight. We're going to try to answer those as straightforward and honest as possible. Again, I've said this the whole time through this project is we want to be very transparent about what we're asking to do. It's a big number, $27,620,000. That's a big number. Here, and we want to justify why we're asking for that and what we're going to do with it. And so that's where these questions come in tonight, and so that's what we're going to do. So I think Jared's going to read some questions off for us, and we're going to go through those, and everybody will have a little bit of input on that, and we'll go right through this.
All right, just to introduce myself, I'm Jared Pettyjohn. I teach computer science here at Fort Cobb Broxton Public Schools, and I was invited to help out with this process. I'm wearing the headphones so that you can hear everything that's going on. I think we've got all the audio ironed out. So I do have the questions here. We'll start with this one here. What specific changes will be made to the elementary and middle schools?
So the first off, the things that we are going to focus on is our elementary building and our middle school building and renovating those buildings. The elementary building, a roof, that building has a leaky roof on it now, so that roof is going to come off, new roof installed on that. Then it's everything from the flooring, ceiling, electrical, plumbing. The one thing that the teachers are really excited about is heating and air conditioning. That building, the system in that is old. It's been up and down even since school has started this year, along the same system in the middle school. And we have a lot of problems with our heating and air conditioning in those 2 buildings. So those are things that are going to be changed out. All the lighting, all the electrical, all the plumbing, in the elementary building, that outside wall that has all of those huge plate glass windows in it, that wall is going to come out, that wall is going to scoot out. We're going to come back with a brick wall in there that has normal windows in it. We're going to get rid of all that plate glass. Normal windows, normal doors. It opens up those classrooms a little bit more, gives them a few more square feet. One of the things that the elementary teachers had really asked for in their classrooms is that they had water in their rooms, a sink. That moving that wall out gives us the ability to put in new plumbing and new electrical underneath that clean piece of dirt. And so we'll be able to provide each classroom with a working sink and water in that room. One of the other big things is the security issues. We've already spent money updating our security cameras, access door controls, those things will continue on. The entrances to that elementary building will be redesigned where they are secure entrances. You'll come in a door and wait before you can actually get into where the students are at. And with what we're seeing in today's age, security is something that's on every person's mind. We all are concerned about our kids, our grandkids, our family members that are at school. We're concerned about our spouses that work at schools. So we're concerned about our staff that work at schools. And we want to provide a secure and safe environment, as we can for those. So, that's going to be a big part of that project is the security of that. Sidewalks, the sidewalk out in front of that elementary building, it's chipped up, it's broken, so we'll have nice, clean sidewalks, make that building really look presentable and represent what Fort Cobb is about. Middle school building, roof doesn't leak on that building, so not necessarily going to have to take the roof off of that building. But again, a lot of the same things from the elementary project then. New heating and air, new flooring, new ceilings, new lights, new plumbing, new electrical, just so, basically complete renovations of those buildings. We will keep the slabs, the interior walls, the steel that holds the roof up, but everything else, is basically going to be renovated out of those buildings. So, Van, Jordan, anything you want to add to where we're going with that?
I think the security is a big point to make, especially also at the entry, and rearranging that entry to have a secured entry and being able to control access throughout the day is going to make a big improvement, and it's an important point.
I think also too, it's probably a given, but we have to bring everything up to code. Today's current standards, including fire suppression, fire alarm, and ADA. Really, we get asked all the time, looking at renovating versus new, and this may be getting ahead to another question, but the building's structurally sound, and a key point is the existing classrooms are large, and we can work within that existing space to renovate it and have the space to bring everything up to code. That's what makes it a better remodel as opposed to building new.
Which is rare for a building this age, but it's awesome.
Yeah, for buildings these age, that building was built in 56. The elementary was built in 56. The middle school was built in 59. For the age of buildings that we have, structurally sound. Very structurally sound. They were very well built buildings. Which that kind of leads us into our next question. Which Jared, I can go ahead and just read that off here. Why did you decide to renovate the elementary and middle school versus complete rebuild like you did the high school? So, when we rebuilt this high school building, we were dealing with a building there that did not have the structural soundness that these two buildings have. Part of that building was built in 1928 and just kind of continued on with add-ons and renovations and things over the years. So the baseline there is that high school building was just not structurally sound. And trying to renovate something like that and prop up everything in there, that was going to be a real issue. These two buildings, elementary, middle school, structurally sound. We can work with those. Van mentioned it in there. Jordan wasn't an architect on this other project, but like I said, that old high school building was just completely worn down. It was worn out. Van, anything else you want to add? That you were involved in that project and going to be in this one. So.
Yeah. You're comparing to the old high school.
Old high school building, yeah.
It was not the same scenario. It just didn't have the structural integrity that these two buildings have.
Right. And from an architectural standpoint, you're comfortable with those buildings being renovated.
Yeah, absolutely. This building was built, it's a very flexible post and beam system, and it's been well maintained over the years, and so it's something that we're able to use and make it what the school needs to be.
Ben, anything else you want to add with that? Okay. So the next question we have is, how long will the renovations take and where will the students go? So I'm going to let Van kind of answer the part about timelines, he and Jordan. Jared, do you have that graph with the timelines on there that we can put up?
I do. Let me pull that up for you guys.
So this is a basic bar chart schedule broken down by building to help illustrate not where we are today, the vote on the August column there. So once the bond passes, we have essentially estimated a 7-month design period for all three jobs. Then we're looking at into the spring of 2023 when we had a complete set of drawings. And at that point is when, as I mentioned earlier, we solicit bids publicly for every trade for 100% of the job, and establish at that point our final construction dollars and our subcontractors. And we have a month or so there of where we're, doing subcontracts and getting submittals and product data, so we can start ordering, rebar for footings and ordering steel and that sort of thing. But essentially timing that where we can start the work over the summer of 2023 while school is out of session. Now, I've broken these down by building to show that we estimate the construction timeline for the elementary to take 14 months, which gets us to the start of school for 2024 for the elementary. We've broken the middle school down into two parts. Our goal would be to focus on the elementary and the new gym event center, getting out of the ground there in that summer of '23. But we would potentially go ahead and address some HVAC upgrades during that summer of '23, and then on the backside, if you will, or the second summer in 2024, complete further renovations of the middle school. Now, the event center, we have estimated to be a 19-month schedule. Gyms of this size are taking, between 15 and 20 months. Our goal would be to complete that essentially by the end of the year of 2024. So we would do all this work together at the same time to get the most economies of scale. The more volume, the better. And with putting the event center, with these renovation jobs, that's going to allow us to get the most, subcontractors bidding on this project, the most volume to get the best price. So we would run them all simultaneously, but this gives you a good overall visual of start and finish.
Jordan, anything you want to add with that, or?
No, I think Van pretty much nailed it on the head. I'm sure everybody's concerned about construction timelines right now, and that's been on the forefront of everyone's mind for the past few years. And Van mentioned it about the submittals, and that's something that the way that we front load things that first month of construction is a strategy that we're using to mitigate that. So.
All right, so thanks. So I'll kind of address on there, and there's two questions that kind of flowed in together here. That first one was, how long will the renovations take and where will the students go? And if the bond passes, when will the construction on each project begin? And when will it be completed? So we've answered that part of the question. So my part of this is, where will the students go? And if you notice on that timeline, it shows in there next summer that we are ready to, we trade out and we upgrade the HVAC, heating and air in that middle school. So the goal is that, once we get the bond passed, that, immediately we start working toward, that we have the equipment that we need here day one as soon as school is out to get the renovation done on the heating and air in that middle school, because that's where we kind of plan on moving the elementary to. So we basically really need, probably 10 classrooms to move that elementary into. They're going to be displaced. So the middle school provides 5 of those. We have the side classroom in the cafeteria that we can use, and then we also still have the 2 classrooms in the portable at the end of the playground, on the north end of the playground. So that kind of leaves me about 2 classrooms short. We'll assess that. We'll see what's available in town, if there's any options there. If not, we may have to look at a couple of portable classrooms, to lease for a couple of years just to get that project done. So, our goal is to, like I said, is to keep those kids here and as close as possible, and make sure those teachers have the space they need, and we just keep everything, flowing. So, once the bond passes, then we will dig into that a little bit more in detail and deeper. But we do have a plan. Mr. Biddy, the elementary principal, we've talked about that. We kind of know where we need to go and what we need to do. So we will have a plan for that. That's kind of the preliminary plan that we're thinking about on what we're going to do with those students. So next question that we kind of have on there is, did Fort Cobb get a competitive bid on construction projects, and if so, how many? So, one thing is, we don't have really a project to bid yet. Once the bond passes, next week, then it comes into those stages that you've seen on that graph, that we have the design phase, and then we know what we need to bid. We know the specifics. We have Van puts the project out for bid, and it is an open public bid. Van, do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. The high level, what it's called is Title 61 in the state of Oklahoma for public bidding. You know, it is really simple. You have to solicit bids for 100% of the work, and so that's our role in this. And we also have to deliver it, and we have to give the school a guaranteed maximum not to exceed based on those price. That's the at-risk part. So, you know, really, you know, that part just comes later. It comes when you have a complete set of drawings to bid off of.
So, you know, that's absolutely right. You know, we will take bids, those bids will go out, they'll be publicly bid. And, you know, and that's one thing about Jody Hall's group is, again, they focus on Southwest Oklahoma, and those contractors, they want to come and work on their jobs. They know they're going to be professionally run jobs. They know they're going to get paid. And so it helps in getting the contractors in here and us getting a better price, because those contractors know that there's going to be somebody bidding against me. And so I've got to sharpen my pencil, and I have to give the best price to get the job. So, you know, the competitive bidding side of that is super important with making sure that, you know, the project is within budget. So,
And that, I might add, that's 98% of what we do is public work in western Oklahoma.
yeah. Yeah. So again, you know, they're the people that know these vendors and know these contractors, and they're going to come out to bid for Joe Hall's work. So those kind of two questions roll together. The next question there was how many bids will be obtained for the work. You know, Van, are you seeing an average on bids?
Yeah, if we look at it, if we've failed you if we haven't gotten at least 3 bids per package. You know, subcontractors are struggling right now. Prices are inflating with their suppliers, and you know, there was a time, and there's been jobs we've gotten 5, 6, 7 bids per package on average. So that's across 30 bid packages. Lately, it's been, you know, 4, 3.5. But if you think about that, you're getting a bid for a bathroom remodel on your house. If you were to get 3 bids on that here right now in that environment, be pretty pleased with that.
Yep.
So we're striving every time to get at least 3 or more on average. So some packages we're going to have 6 or 7 bidders. Some we might have 2. But the minimum is, you know, 3 per average.
Okay. So Van, you talk about bid packages there. What are you referring to when you talk about a bid package?
Sure. So we define the scopes of work. So masonry, drywall, glass, heat and air, et cetera, and solicit those bid packages and scopes of work that we define what's in that scope all over to our network of 500 plus subcontractors. And then they choose which package they want to bid on. So some subcontractors will choose to bid on multiple packages. You know, concrete, masonry is a common one, or drywall and EFS siding. You know, those are some packages that have some duplication, but it gives subcontractors flexibility. And, you know, one of the things I might add, not to get off topic here, but that system in itself gives you that open book accounting of where every dollar is spent in the end. So it's a public meeting, it's a public award, it's a public knowledge. So you get to see the subcontractors that are going to actually perform the work, vet them out, not only through us, but yourselves, and to see what that cost is. How much are you spending on glass? How much are you spending on roofing, et cetera? That's why the system was created by the state of Oklahoma, so that you could select your construction manager to represent you, but then also get this open book accounting for knowledge of what was the true participation by each bid package, who's actually performing the work, and what did it cost.
Sure. All right. Jordan, anything you want to add with that? Or? No? Okay. So kind of with this question, this question had a couple of different things in it. So who will be overseeing the funding, the spending? So what is kind of the process that once the bond passes, we're ready to start doing things? How do people get paid? What's the process?
Yeah, so let me first say that the contractors, including ourselves as construction manager, we don't get paid a penny until we actually produce. So we don't charge for pre-construction services, and until we have the job, bid and awarded and started, we don't earn a penny. So what happens is once we've awarded the contracts and we start construction, we submit on an AIA, which is the architect standard for pay applications. We submit a request on a monthly basis, progress billings, to the architect first for review and approval. So Jordan and his team of engineers will review the work and decide on a percentage basis, have we, completed the dirt work and footings and utility that we've requested been paid on, and they, as the licensed architect, sign and stamp that, and then deliver that to owner for their approval. And then once the owner has approved it, then they send it to their financial institution for payment. So it's a very defined process that's the same process that's used in every public project in the state of Oklahoma that's a bond issue with an architect and financed through an agency like this.
So I think the important thing out of that is that it's going through several sets of eyes before something gets paid.
By people that are
Yeah.
licensed to do what
Licensed
they do,
to do,
include,
yeah.
Us, the architect, and that's a very that's the normal process for everybody.
Okay, good, thank you. Jordan, anything you'd add to that?
I would just say that it goes, the checks and balances continue past even the payout to the money draw, like with Matt, he will also verify that everything has been checked and is withdrawn properly. So it continues all the way through.
Yeah. So it's a team effort. I mean, we're all looking out for each other, and we're working through this together as a team, and so that's kind of where we go through this. So some more of that question is, is this a complete 10-year payback? So one thing, that 10-year number that was on that ballot, and we'll talk about that more as we get down in here, but this is a 16-year bond. So we are planning on, this bond taking 16 years, to pay out, and it will be a level pay. It will pay the same amount every year. Some more of that we're going to talk about down. I'm going to roll it down in there, but how can it be guaranteed to not raise taxes? That we're going to talk about. I've got other questions down in the sheet here that is, and this person has commented in here that it's definitely a good time to make use of the turbine funds. Those wind towers are new. They're at their highest tax level that they're going to pay. And so it is a good time to, to make use of those funds. But the part of that is, but they do want to know what the backup plan is. So we're going to work through that, and we're going to talk about our backup plans. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about how that's figured as we move kind of down into the next section of this. So, Jared?
Yeah, I just want to hit on that since you already have. I was going to go ahead and follow up with this question. On the ballot, it says bonds will be paid every 10 years. Does that mean the windmills will only pay for 10 years?
No. They'll pay taxes forever. They're on a sliding depreciation scale that they depreciate, I think, 4% per year, Matt, is that? Or they're on a sliding depreciation scale where they have a scheduled amount that they're going to depreciate each year. But those towers will always have some value. The amount that they pay can go down a little bit each year just because of depreciation. But, like I said, they will never just have zero value. They will always have some value out there. It's like you buy a car. That first initial, that's the value, and then it starts to depreciate out. Its value goes down a little bit every year. So,
All right, so I also wanted to hit back on something when we talked about renovations for the middle school and the elementary school. This was his question about the gym in particular. I don't know if you had a chance to hit on that. Why build a new gym instead of renovating the existing gym?
So the main thing is again, we talked about the age of that elementary and that middle school building. They were built in the 50s. That gym across the street that we still call the new gym You know, that was constructed in 1976. I think construction actually started a little bit before that, and they moved in and started using that gym in 1976, which basically makes that a 46-year-old building. You know, unlike the middle school and the elementary building, you know, that building's probably not as structurally sound as some of them. I'm not saying it's going to fall down or anything like that, but, you know, it has some structural issues that we're going to have to deal with. You know, one thing too is it's the limited space over there to expand. You know, there's not a lot of room to go behind that thing. There's not a lot of room to go, you know, in front of it. The sides are pretty limited there, so there's not a lot of space to expand in that. And one of the other things there that's a problem with that is it floods. You know, that building has flooded 3 times, and you know there's always problems with that. We have plumbing problems over there. You know, there's a lot of things just going in that. So again, there's no place to expand the parking. The parking is limited. You know, handicap accessibility. You know, that building is not very handicap accessible. And again, kind of back to some of that structural soundness of that building. So, Van, is there anything you want to add to that?
Just
We mentioned,
accessibility. Sorry.
yeah, ADA.
Yeah, ADA accessibility is a really big issue with that building. Going through and bringing that up to code would be a major undertaking and is not financially feasible for that structure. So.
I mean, the age is not necessarily the answer to when or why you renovate. I mean, we're renovating Washita County Courthouse and Jackson County Courthouses that are built in 1910 and 11. But they're structurally sound, and that's really one of the things. And you have the space to work within it, not only inside but out, like you mentioned with parking, and you know, to try to get in those locker rooms and sprinkle that and provide today's heat and air, the things that make that code compliant. It's just not the room that you need to make it work. So
yeah, and you know, and that's the biggest thing there is just there's just not a lot of room to expand that gym over there in that area where it sits. So, Jared, what do you have for us next?
So just kind of a follow-up question to that would be, what would you do with the old gym, the new gym, that we call the new gym now? What would we do with that building afterwards?
So, you know, we're not going to abandon that building by any means. You know, it still has some uses. You know, we will certainly use that as a practice gym, community use gym, you know, elementary PE classes, just numerous things that gym can still be used for, but not be our main place that we, you know, have events. You know, we've had graduation in there for several years. You know, those things could be able to be moved into a new facility. But no, we will not abandon that gym. There's no plans to tear that down. You know, we will continue to have limited use on that, you know, some use on that.
Okay, I have a few financial questions here. This one says, what happens to our taxes if there is a dispute?
So let's back up just a second on that, Jared. I've kind of regrouped these just a little bit, and I do want to hit on one more. I want to hit on a question about that gym real quick. How can the gym be used for more than just basketball and for more than just athletes? Since that kind of falls into the same,
go ahead. Yeah,
same area
I'll
there.
try to find it. Put it
Sure,
on the
no problem. So this is the question: how can the gym be used for more than just basketball and for more than just athletes? So, you know, our new gym. One of the very attractive things about that building is, you know, we've added. It's a gymnasium. Okay, you know, it's 1,000 seats. You know, it's floor access, everything is ground level. That answers a lot of questions with, you know, ADA compliance, you know, with handicap, people that can't crawl up a bunch of stairs or walk up a bunch of stairs, you know, that really answers a lot of questions for that. You know, we have a big concession area in this gym. You know, it's always been known here that during basketball season, there are people that just come in and grab food out of the concession stand and go home. They don't necessarily stay from the game. We've always had a good concession. So, we've got the ability to expand that part of the gym. And also on the back side of this gym, which is something that you don't see in a lot of gyms that we have added, is we've added an actual event space in the back side of this gym. What was the square footage on that? Do you remember, Jordan?
It's approximately 3,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
so we've added a space on the back of that gym, somewhere around 3,000 square feet back there, that opens up into the regular gym. So it has a big overhead door designed into it where you can access that, from inside the gym, which again, not something you see in a lot of gyms, especially, of this size that, have those kind of spaces back there. So, that space back there, again, event space, we can do whatever we want to do in that. It'll be finished out, heat, air conditioning, a nice usable space in there. It'll have floor access into the gym. It'll be a place back there where, if the cheerleaders need a place to practice and work out, that will be available back there. And just anything, FCCLA, if they need that, talent shows, elementary school programs, those are things that we will be able to do in that, graduation or award ceremonies. And, and even in fundraisers, occasionally we'll have, one of the organizations will want to have a dinner or something, and they have that in the cafeteria before a ball game and catch that crowd that comes in. That event space that's in the back of that gym, we will be able to use that to set up tables and chairs, and they can have those meal fundraisers right back there. If we have, say, one of the auto dealers that wants to, bring in some cars, and that space will also have overhead doors where you can drive into it. So if a car dealership wanted to bring in some cars and display them back there, and we have, Ford night or Chevrolet night or whatever, it will just bring extra things to, that facility, and what that facility, can be used for more than just playing basketball in it. And that was a big thing of mine through this whole project. And I'll tell you, both of these guys heard me say it, is we want that facility to be more than something that we can just use for basketball. After school programs, archery, lots of things that can happen in that very usable space back there, along with playing basketball in it. So, had one more on my sheet here, Jared, that
Okay.
was exactly where will the new gym be built.
All right.
And so I think we maybe have a map. on
Yeah, let me
that.
pull up a
So
map here.
the school district now owns the land across the street north of the softball fields and the baseball fields. So from Dollar General to 7th Street, that and our projected spot for that gym will be somewhere to the west half of that. We are playing with where we put that requires the least amount of dirt work, the least amount of site prep. Where are we closest to the water lines at, where are we closest to the sewer lines at. So, that's just things that we're working through on there. But it will be, that new gym will be located, across the street north of those, the softball fields and baseball fields. So, and you can kind of,
It's not wanting to pull it
okay.
up, so.
So, sometimes technology does real well and sometimes it doesn't. So,
We tried.
we tried.
Yeah.
We tried on that. So,
You'll see it in the video at the end.
yeah, we'll see it in the video. We have a promotional video that we'll run at the end of this meeting, and it shows that in there with where that gym will be located. So, okay, so
Did you want to hit back on the taxes and money part of it? or is
yeah,
this something-
let's move kind of to the money part.
Okay.
And
I don't know where you wanted to start. Was there a question you wanted to lead off with?
yeah,
for
let's
that?
lead off with, and this was probably the most asked question that we had was, how can you pass the bond for $27.6 million and our property taxes not go up? So, and that is, 27.6 million, 27,620,000, that's a big number. It's a big number for this area. And, the main thing that allows us to even look at a bond of this size is, our district valuation. So the county assessor values all the property in our district. And up until now, through last year, our district valuation has been $11,382,922. Okay, so with the addition of the wind tower project down there, our valuation has now went to $775,245. So, we've seen a huge increase in our district property valuation. So when we got those numbers and we seen where that was going to be, we took that number, we figured we knew where we were at today, the current bond that we're on, all the taxpayers, you've been paying a 40 mil sinking fund rate to pay for this bond issue. We continued on with that 40 mil rate and expanded that out for 16 years, and that gave us the number that we could generate, for this project, which is that $27,620,000. So, that's where we came to that, and that's why we could do this and not raise taxes. We maintained that 40 mil sinking fund project rate and just projected that out and just continued on at a level tax base, no tax increase there from the project or from the millage. Now, could your taxes change? Yeah, they could. If your property value goes up, it could change a little bit, but that millage rate will stay constant, with this project at 40 mils. Matt, anything you want to add on that, or Van, anybody? You're good? So.
I mean, I might add that, excuse me, that back to the renovating the elementary question, we were, as a team, doing our best to be prudent within those dollars and being very aware of what your budget was. All right, so a new elementary, for example, would cost significantly more, and you wouldn't be able to replace that same space for that same budget.
Right.
So it's fair to say that when we established that budget, we were considering, our options with, the elementary renovations and middle school renovations.
Yeah. The construction numbers there and the square footage cost, with that, were about $325 per square foot for a new construction of the gym versus 212. I think was the number there, $212 per square foot for that renovation of the elementary. So, we were almost $100 a square foot, difference in renovation and new construction. So, that was, and that's what allowed us to keep that within a doable budget. Again, millage rate stays the same. It's, that 40 mils, that's the same thing that you would have paid last year. So we're just projecting that out and continuing that on to do that. The other question that follows with that was, is this going to raise my ad valorem tax? We've answered that question right in there with that. So no, this is no projected ad valorem tax, increase, sinking fund tax increase. So the next question I have there is, has FCB Schools received any tax money from proposed wind tower money? No. Those projects are actually, those taxes will start receiving wind tower taxes at the end of this year. When everybody pays their property taxes this year, you'll get your property tax bill in November. The wind tower people will get their property tax bill in November, and then we will receive their tax payment in that.
I think a good follow-up to what you were just discussing would be this question. Please address how much money will be used on each project. I think you kind of already started down that road, so that might be a good place to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Van talk about that one.
I'll answer that. So within each project, as I said, when we look at the available dollars, we went through the elementary and middle school first to figure out what that would cost. So with the renovation scope that Mr. Wiley mentioned earlier, with heat and air, mechanical, fire suppression, fire alarm, all the life safety stuff, then down to the finishes, the paint, the drywall, the roofs, et cetera. Our construction budget for the elementary is $7.7 million, which, as he said, works out to be about $212 a square foot. Then the middle school is about 7,000 square feet at $125 a square foot. That works out to $882,000. Our scope is a little different there at the middle school with respect to the structure, and that's why that one is less. The gymnasium event center has a $325 a square foot. That's $8.1 million. on a 25,000 square foot gymnasium. We've built, I think, around 65 gymnasiums in our 36-year history. We keep really close tabs on what gyms are costing. Things have escalated since we built Apache, but these numbers really came, directly from a gym that we just had bid in Medford just a couple months ago. So this is current market pricing on a similar designed gym in rural Oklahoma. And, these numbers aren't taken from anywhere else other than our tracking of construction costs in rural Oklahoma. Again, for the last 36 years, we keep very close tabs on that. And that's how we come up with a construction budget. We have utilities allowance and some paving allowance in there as well to make up the difference. But that's essentially how we come up with the budget. And this is an educated guess, if you will, on what the project costs, but you don't actually establish the budget until you have a complete set of drawings. And we work through that. Big part of our role is to deliver this project for what you have dollars for. So we've worked with Jordan and his team on hundreds of projects over the years, and our working knowledge with each other. We are responsible for helping make that budget in the end, but we do progress drawings to stay on track. We monitor it as we get new information about the utilities, as we get new information about the mechanical system of the elementary or the power or the sewer line. And so our job is to help maintain that budget. And so we track that budget throughout. And so, again, it's an open book accounting system to make that, it's all fluid, but it's fungible in the end, and that you're getting, bids on the entire project, but our role is to track it on an individual basis. So that's why we're able to reveal what that budget is at this time, is because we have to track it all the way through in order to maintain the budget.
Well, and I think and you mentioned this, what plays an important part there is we are able to get a good estimate for this project up front, so we know what we need just because of Jody Hall's history in building these projects and having a good thumb on what they're going to cost. So, we feel really good about these numbers. As where we can do this project, for these numbers. Jordan, anything you want to add?
No, I would just say that I agree. Van mentioned that, our companies have worked together for a long time because we're both in this area working on public projects, and, I concur, and we're comfortable with those numbers as well.
Yep. So, Aaron, what do you got for us next?
Okay, so I think that's a lot of those kind of questions. I think the rest of the questions are kind of going to ask you to look into the future. They're what-if questions, and you may have more that you want to address, but the ones I got, so let's kind of talk about these. What happens, what if, but here's what happens to our taxes if there is a dispute.
Sure. So I'm going to kind of back up, and I want to talk about a couple of things before I talk about the dispute part of this. I had some questions. I had a couple of questions in here that talked about bankruptcy, or if the whole wind tower company just, something happened to them. So, I want to kind of address those first before I get into the tax part of this. But, the question is, what happens if the wind farm goes bankrupt, or what happens if the windmills go under? So bankruptcy does not exempt anyone from paying their property taxes. Not me, not you, not Elite Clean Energy, who owns this project. They can go bankrupt, but their property taxes still exist. So bankruptcy is not that big of a concern with me. And two, if you look at Elite Clean Energy that owns this project, I know there's been some controversy out there about them the landowners not feeling like that they're getting their payments like they should. But, still, Elite Clean Energy, they're a big company. This is not their only project. They have, I think probably 10 or 12 other wind tower projects across the United States. They have one other one in Oklahoma. They're a publicly traded company. If you go out and you look at Elite and you do research on them, which I have. I mean, I've looked at them. They're a stable financial company. Their stocks are going up, regularly. They're paying dividends to their shareholders. They do a lot for communities that are there in. I mean, they have already given us a $50,000 donation, which we're going to use in our ag program, to help build a school farm out there, which we'll be starting later on here in the fall. But, so we're using their money already that they've given us to work on projects here. So, the bankruptcy side of it is not something that really concerns me too much, because again, bankruptcy does not exempt you from paying your property taxes. So now, Jared, let's jump into those tax questions now. Let's go back to that. What happens if our taxes, there's a dispute?
Yeah, so let's try the dispute one, yeah.
So, this is a big area, and I had a lot of questions about this. So, I mean, there's what happens if there's a tax dispute. Are you familiar with other school districts that have had tax disputes and they've protested their taxes and the problems that those cause? What happens if the wind tower don't pay their taxes? So, I had several questions in those, and those are great questions, that we need to address, because it is an issue. It has been an issue. Tax disputes in Oklahoma have been an issue for a long time, and I know, Matt will attest to that as being a financial guy, and you guys see it too with districts that start bond projects, and then all of a sudden, an oil company, a wind tower company, somebody that's helping fund that project protests their taxes, and, the money, where's the money come from now? So, I kind of have a three-pronged approach to what if there's a tax dispute. So the number one thing is that, a bill that came through the state legislators this last year, House Bill 3901, it was brought through. The legislative folks there in Oklahoma City, they brought this bill through with the sole purpose of it will fast track and speed up this protest process. So before 3901, I mean, you could have a tax protest that could last for a year, 2 years, and those taxes were sitting there in escrow. With 3901, that speeds up that process. So the timeline turns out to be that a company, or me or you, now it kicks in 3901. We'll reference this. 3901 kicks in for over $3 million in taxes. So you get your tax assessment that this is what your property is valued at in April, and this would be Elite. This would be Elite Clean Energy. They get their property tax in April. If they have 30 days, if they do not like that, they don't agree with that, to protest. So if they do that, which again, I will say here, Elite is not known to protest their taxes. The Diamond Springs project, it's in southeast Oklahoma. It's about 2 years ahead of us. They have not protested their taxes down there. And that project has been valued the same way that this one has been. They historically have not tried to get out of paying their taxes of any of their other projects either. So again, Elite, they seem to be pretty good about paying their taxes. But, again, back to that timeline, 30 days to protest. If they protest, it immediately goes to a tax court, and that process is fast-tracked. And so the whole idea behind this bill is that before November, when those tax bills go out, that dispute is settled, and they get their tax bill and they pay their taxes. So that's the whole process. That bill comes into effect January 1. They have already agreed to their taxes this year. They have a value, the county assessor put a value on that wind tower project of $313 million. Okay, $313 million. That's the part of that wind tower project that is in the Fort Cobb Broxton School District. They have some that's in Apache. That part of the project has a value also. So they have not disputed their value. They did, so we know that we're going to get paid, when everyone pays their taxes in December, January, after the first of the year, we know that we're going to get our money from them this year. So, and then, so number one, we have House Bill 3901 that has become a law that's going to fast track these tax protests. You know, I've spent a lot of time researching that. I've talked to Matt about it as a financial advisor. I've spoken to some other bonding attorneys, financial attorneys that deal with this stuff. You know, they agree that 3901 is going to help. You know, I spent some time talking to another superintendent, you know, from a school district here that has really had a lot of struggles in the past with their wind tower company protesting their taxes. You know, and it caused his school district a lot of problems. And he was pretty instrumental in guiding the legislative folks how to what we needed as schools and counties and municipalities that get taxes from these wind tower companies or these oil and gas companies or pipeline companies. You know, he was really instrumental. So, you know, I was able to pick another superintendent's brain also about how did you handle this? And, you know, is this going to, and, you know, and he says, yeah, this House bill is going to make a lot of difference. It's going to be the game changer in schools and what they have to experience with tax protests. So those two things right there, you know, House Bill 3901 that fast tracks the tax protest, the fact that Elite is showing to be a reputable company as far as paying their taxes. They're not protesting. They don't try to dispute those. They pay their taxes. You know, they want to help fund, you know, school districts. You know, I have had numerous conversations with their upper management from Elite, some of their vice presidents, and was very clear with them that, you know, if you do something and you don't try to pay your taxes, what effect that has on this school district and our kids. You know, I mean, I've looked those guys in the eye and said, you know, look, here's what that does, you know, to our funding source if you guys don't want to pay your taxes on time. You know, so, you know, I've been very clear with them. You know, they're a big company, lots of people in that. You know, did that help? I don't know, but at least they know that what that does. They've seen our kids, they've met our kids, they've been here. You know, they've had to look them in the face now, so we'll see if that if they continue on to pay their taxes. But with 3901 speeds up that process. You know, my third part of that plan to help make sure that if something happens and they don't pay their taxes, that we are covered, is that, you know, we're immediately, as we start to receive wind tower money, you know, we're going to start putting money back. You know, we're going to start saving. We're going to start, you know, I would, within 3 years, my goal is to have $1 million sitting there that if they don't pay their taxes, for some reason, something gets hung up, you know, instead of the taxpayer being assessed additional taxes, is that with what we currently have that everyone pays, it's local, plus $1 million, we are really close to being able to cover that tax bill without having to raise that millage rate. You know, and I think that's a doable number. You know, I've tried to be very fiscally conservative here. You know, we don't spend money unless it's on something that we really feel like we need. You know, and I don't plan on changing that strategy. You know, even though, you know, we will receive a little bit of more general fund money, you know, because of the wind towers. It's not a lot, but, you know, it is enough that we can, you know, stay on our conservative track, the way we spend money here on our everyday things, and we are able to put some money back where if we come short on taxes, we can inject that money into the sinking fund. I've discussed this with our school auditors. It can be done, that we can put some of that money into that sinking fund and not be short when it comes to paying taxes. So, you know, that's kind of my three-pronged plan, you know, to handle a tax protest. You know, and again, that's just something that we'll work through, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that. You know, I get questions on here, you know, part of these questions on here, can we guarantee that, you know, taxes will never go up? I can't do it. You know, I cannot, you know, look out at everyone and say, I promise you that taxes are not ever going to go up. You know, things can happen. And, you know, we put a risk analysis in this. I teach risk analysis in my aviation class. It was one of the main things I teach, and I teach high school kids about risk analysis. You know, what's the risk of driving to Anadarko to get ice cream? Well, I might get a speeding ticket. I might have a wreck. You know, does that keep you from driving to Anadarko to get that ice cream? No, probably not. You know, so we've applied the risk analysis to this, and, you know, with those three things that I've mentioned, you know, dealing with property tax, it puts the risk pretty low that property taxes are going to increase. Can I say they'll never increase, you know, on a millage? I can't do it, you know, but we have a plan, you know, we have a plan to mitigate any non-payment of taxes. And I'm very confident in that plan that, you know, that we can make that work. That's been a big point with this, is people don't want their taxes to go up. I don't want your taxes to go up. We've lived through that once. You know what I'm talking about. You know, I don't want to do that again. I've been very, very diligent. The board has been very, very diligent about designing this project where we can stay within our budget. We can stay within that 40 mil sinking fund tax rate that you are currently paying, and that we can do something really good for our community, you know, and for the kids that go to school here today and for years and years to come. So, you know, I think that, and I hope that answers the questions dealing with what if there's a tax protest. That knocks a bunch of them off of our list there, Jared, because that was a popular question on here, and you know, I've spent a lot of time, and the board has spent a lot of time, you know, going through that. How do we mitigate that risk? How do we lessen that risk, you know, of taxes getting out of hand, you know, if there's a tax protest? And I think we have a very workable plan with that to keep that from getting out of hand, keep taxes from getting out of hand, you know, on a tax protest.
I feel like you've already addressed this a little bit, and then again, it's asking you to look forward 10 years into the future. I don't know how well you can do that. Are there projections or anything that leads us to believe, to answer this question, if the wind towers hold the most value in the first 10 years, will taxes go up after 10 years?
No. So, you know, of course, windmills are on a depreciation schedule, so they depreciate each year a little bit. And, you know, 10 years is kind of a number on there where they do have the most value in 10 years. But, you know, that's where I rely on our financial people, you know, Matt and the group. There's 9 different entities that he works with that build the financing for these projects. So, you know, what we've been able to do is they take into account what taxes we have now, what the wind towers have added, you know, where do we want to be, what's the depreciation schedule on those wind towers, you know, what is the appreciation or what increase do we see generally here in the district, land, you know, property, homes, you know, what do we see those happening, and how are they appreciating or increasing in value on a yearly basis. And so they blend all of that together and come up with a formula that's a level playing field. I mean, we will pay the same amount year 1 bond payment as we pay, you know, year 16 in that. And so we're able to blend those things, you know, the depreciation from the wind towers, the appreciation or increase in value of local property. If anything else, you know, if other projects come into play, you know, we've been able to balance that and make a stable, you know, payment schedule for this where it's equal every year for the life of that bond.
All right. I think that's all of the tax questions, unless you had one hiding in your list there.
Let me kind of look here real quick. Talked about that. Here's one I don't know if you had on there or not, Jared. It says, what is the projected percentage of property tax landowners will pay if the bond passes? So
I don't have that one.
you know, here's a breakdown on that. If you look at everyone that lives in this community right now and has been paying taxes here, you know, that comes up to that 11 million, whatever I quoted a minute ago, 11,382,922. You know, that's what everyone here that lives here and pays taxes here paid last year. Okay, so if you take that, that makes our local people, they are responsible for this bond issue to pay 26% of that. So locally, the people that live here, we're paying 26% of the bond issue. The wind towers, 24%. We're paying 24%. The wind tower company is paying 76% of those costs. Those numbers that Van mentioned a little bit ago, that we were a little over 8 million, I think, in construction for that middle school and that elementary.
Yep.
that's just about over the life of that bond, over the 16-year life of that bond, the local community is basically paying that portion. If you do the numbers on there, you come out to, not exact math, but, that's basically what the local community is paying for. The wind towers, they're 76%. They're picking up most of the rest of this project. So, that's a big deal. And that's one of the reasons that, we feel like we need to do this now, is because they are going to be responsible for that amount of it. The second part of that question was, so what if the bond doesn't pass? What happens to that sinking fund millage? Well, after this current bond is paid for, we're paying 40 mils on that right now. After that, if there is no project, or if there is no sinking fund, if there's no building project going on, that goes away. Is that a positive thing? Lowers your taxes, but we're still sitting here with buildings that need to be repaired, need to be replaced, need to be renovated, and we're turning around again in a couple of years and coming back and saying, hey, we need to look at this bond again, but construction prices have went up. Van, over 2 years, what would you say? I know it's hard to estimate, but if something's costing us $8 million to renovate today, would it be safe to say that in 3 years that might cost $10 million?
Yes.
So, there's an increase in construction prices. So, it's kind of one of those deals. The old saying is, you want to strike while the iron is hot. We've got a hot iron right now with these wind towers, and we need to take advantage of what they are going to do and the funds that they are going to provide, into this school district for a construction project. So,
I feel like that leads into this question. Why do we need to put everything on one bond? Why can't we do some now and some later?
So right in with that, and following right in with that question right there is, again, we need to strike while the iron is hot. And by rolling all of this into one project, it helps a lot of things. We get the most bang for our buck out of that wind tower's property valuation. Plus, when Van goes to bid these projects, it increases the volume of plumbing that we're going to do. It increases the volume of masonry we're going to do. It increases the volume of electrical we're going to do. It increases the volume of every project, and it makes it more attractive to the bidders. We get better bid prices. Would you?
Yeah. To be frank about it, the elementary and middle school is not an attractive job. It's extremely difficult to be productive. Stop and start on a remodel. If you've ever been through that, you run into hurdles, you run into issues, and with having the gym with it, you're able to balance the two jobs. It's tough to get subcontractors to come to rural Oklahoma for, for example, a $200,000 drywall. But if it's $1 million drywall job, they're interested because it has a new part as well as a renovation part. So you're able to be efficient with your travel, you be efficient with your material orders. One of the common things we're running into now is, you have a farm, you're missing a part for your tractor. It's hard to get it. It stops production. It's the same thing in construction. You're missing a piece of hardware. You're missing a heat and air unit or a roofing component. With this much volume, it just makes it that more attractive to get people to be efficient with their time and the travel, which brings that cost down. Everyone knows, it's no secret. There's no plumber within close proximity that has the people, the personnel that can perform this job. That, oh, by the way, you have to provide a payment performance bond for this share. That volume is what attracts the higher quality of contractor to perform this kind of work, which is what drives the price down and gets you the best project.
Yeah. So again, right there, that's all part of why, the board decided to roll this all up into one package. It's efficiency, getting the best, price on the contractors as we get them out here, giving enough volume in that job that they'll give us a better price. And two, it is maximizing that amount of money that we can get from those wind towers. right here off the bat.
Thanks so much. I only have a couple more questions here. I don't know if you have any extras, but here's one that I think a lot of people are confused on, and even myself before I had it explained to me. Why can't you just use the money you get from the windmills to build instead of passing a bond?
Sure, and that's a question that I've had asked too, and I've got a kind of a two-part question right there. I also have a question here as, how much state aid does the school anticipate losing because of the new funding from the wind turbine payments each year? So we work off, a school district, and this one, especially, we have always counted on the money that the legislators appropriate to schools. It comes through what we call a state aid formula, dependent upon, your kids, what your circumstances are. There's a lot of factors that go into that attribute to how they figure out how much money the state of Oklahoma is going to send to each school in the state of Oklahoma. So right now, last year our state aid was about 1.3 million. With the wind towers coming into play on that, what happens is we do what is called going off the formula. So we are going to receive more local tax money. In the past few years, we've received about $400,000 in local tax money. That $11 million valuation that everybody pays their taxes, the local part of that, this is not having anything to do with bond. This is what we operate on. This is what we pay the light bills on. This is what, we pay teachers with. This is what we provide transportation with. This is not bond money. Two separate issues here. So, we've, in the past few years, we've been getting about $400,000 in local ad valorem money that we operate on. So, and getting about, last year it was $1.3 million in money from the state. So now we are going to receive about $1.5 million combined between the local people that live here and the wind towers. So that ad valorem money payment, that local tax payment, is going to go from $400,000 to about $1.5 million. Well, that's more money than what the state sends us, and so the state's going to take that money away. So, my projection is that after the state figures out that we're getting a lot of local money, is they're going to, in December, it will happen in December of this year, when they recalculate everything, we will no longer get that 1.3 million. This year it's about 1.1. We will no longer get that money from the state. So now our operations become part of that wind tower money or part of that local ad valorem money. So, that's what happens. So, we're estimating somewhere between 1.1, 1.3 million that we will lose in state money that we gain from local ad valorem. So that answers the question that Jared brought up here is, why can't you just use the money that you get from the windmills to build instead of passing the bond? Because, to get that money, now that money becomes our operational money. So that local ad valorem money now becomes our operational money. That's what we have to pay salaries with. That's what we have to pay the electric bill. That's what we provide transportation with. That number, that dollars right there, that now becomes our general fund operational money. If the state didn't take that money away, if they left and we kept our state aid and we got that wind tower money on top of that, we wouldn't be talking about a bond issue. We would find other financing and we would have enough money to pay that without a bond. But under the current structure that Oklahoma pays their schools and they fund their schools, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. So we just don't get enough, we don't have enough money there, to fund a project like this. So I think that answers that question.
Yeah, I think it does. And then I have one more prepared question. You may have some more that you want to address, and I'll definitely give you time to do that. But this question says, since we haven't paid off the other bond yet, will we be paying two bonds at the same time?
So yeah, good question there, because we still do have one more issuance or one more bond payment left on the bond that we used to build this high school building. So, so what's going to happen is, as a taxpayer, you're not going to see any difference there. Our millage, sinking fund millage rate, sinking fund is where we pay our bond payments, that millage rate is going to stay at 40. That's what it was last year. That's what it's going to be, from here forward, once this new bond passes and it comes on, that sinking fund millage rate will remain at 40. This first time that, we do that, we have that one. So that first year it kind of blends. So paying off this existing bond and moving into the new bond, we have a blending of those, and then it just continues right on with that 40 mil. So you don't ever see a difference in the taxing rate, that 40 mil rate. That never changes, the money that goes into our sinking fund. Matt, his crew, the financial advisors, they take those numbers, they crunch them out, and they make sure that we have both of our bond payments made, and we finish out that existing bond and move into, a new bond.
That's well stated.
Okay.
Kyle, what it is first couple of bonds will be sold. They have the fancy name combined purpose bonds. All that simply means is more than one proposition utilized in that. The only time you would have two bonds on the tax rolls, as it would look in your estimate of needs, when you go back through there and you see your different bonds on there, would be with the first issuance, because you would have that, roughly speaking, $445,000 July issue that you've already got. And then that would be combined, if you will, on the tax rolls with a second issue of approximately $1.3 million that after passage would be sold toward the end of this year. So on the tax rolls for next year, they would see a total, round figures, of $1.7 million. It's two bonds, but that does not affect how you pay your taxes. You're dead on the 40 mil level that you're looking at, but it's two bonds adding it up. Into the future, it will simply be sold as combined purpose bond twice, all new monies going forward, but one bond at a time on the rolls, other than that 1 year, as projected right now, sir. Thanks for letting me throw that in there, Kyle.
No, thank you. So, main thing to remember there is the 40 mil sinking fund rate does not change. That's our projected dollar, or that's our projected rate in there, and that's where we're trying to keep that. So, what else we got, Jared?
That is all the questions that I have prepared.
Okay.
Unless you have other questions.
So, I think I've got a few here that maybe
Okay.
you don't have, so
I
I will
think
sort
so.
through these. And we'll all kind of be jumping in on some of these. So I want to back up a little bit. Here's one that I did get, and it says, I have heard that there are going to be more wind towers constructed. If this happens, what will that do to our taxes? So, that's kind of like this wind tower project. I got the first indication that there was going to be a wind tower project in about 2015. So it's taken all of this time to get to this point where they are sitting out there, and they're paying taxes. So, I sure don't try to count my chickens before the eggs hatch. I have gotten information that there is a new tower project coming in. I have actually, about a week ago, I received the map from this company. It's not Elite, it's a different company. I received a tower placement map from them. If this project happens, it looks like that we would be in the position to have 15 to 20 new towers in our district. I have no idea to estimate what the value will be on those. It's a bigger project as far as the towers themselves and the generators than what the Elite project is. So, like I said, I don't have any way to estimate what that would look like as far as a value. But if it does happen, and those towers are built and they are in production down there, then, that will again increase our district valuation, which brings somebody else in that pays part of the cost, and it would make that sinking fund millage go down. So it could go down if that happens. Is there any guarantee that those towers get built? No. When they're standing up in the air down there and I can actually physically see them, then I will start to think about what does that do, to our district valuation. But, I will not count on those. Lots of things can happen with that kind of project, so I won't count on them. But, I have gotten some information that is going to happen. So, if it does, that would be another really positive thing for our district, and, be a really positive thing for the taxpayers in this community. So, let's see here. We've done that one. We've talked about, I did want to talk and clear up some language that was on that, on the ballot. At the bottom of that ballot, it talks about a number in there in years of 10. I've had some questions about that. What does that mean? Does that mean that, that this is a 10-year bond? And that number, that 10-year number, honestly, it has nothing to do with the issuance of this bond. This is a